there are so many options when it comes to dealing with characters and their abilities and do things that, cause large area of effect spells that they can't get away from. And the thing is you make sure you're not going into it with a mentality of it's me versus them. You are the outer god, you control this, it's your sphere, you can do as you please. Nothing is set in stone. The book is a suggestion.
All right, everyone, welcome back to GM Philosophy. This is the channel where we empower game masters to run better games. We are doing the next installment of our interview series with Jay Lost the Day. I'm going to let him introduce himself, a game master running some pretty awesome, cool sounding stuff. We've got a lot of things scheduled to talk about in this sit-down interview. Going to share some tactics, some tips, and just some casual conversation about the craft of running games. Jay, if you would give us a little introduction, introduce yourself to the audience.
All right. I am Jay Lost the Day. I'm pretty much that across most platforms. I am also on my own Discord server, which is the Companies Guild. On that, I am Phelan because of naming things with all of that, but mostly Jay Lost the Day. On StartPlaying, I'm also Jay Lost the Day. I've been doing or playing TTRPGs for I'm getting old, almost 22 years at this point. There was a little bit of a break in there in the middle because of I got married and had a lot of things going on, kids and stuff, but then got back into it again. But I've only been doing DMing for about, once I look back on, about 5 years now. And I tried once about 20 years ago and just didn't have the time. I was told that my storylines were good. I just didn't have the enough time to do all the setup. So I came back and have tried it those last 5 years. And so far, everybody has really kind of enjoyed what I've done and the storylines that I have going on with the different campaigns. And so, yeah, that's mostly about me at this point. I mean, I'm not a super interesting guy, I guess.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm already interested in hearing about this. So it sounds like you had a bit of a learning curve. You're talking about there's a point back a ways in your running
Uh-huh.
game craft where you said that you felt like you weren't getting the greatest feedback. If I'm
I
if I'm hearing you right.
Yeah, no, I was 19. We were playing second edition AD&D, and the people I was doing the game for were older veterans, had played for a long time. They really understood the system for AD&D, and I was working a ton at the time. So I had storylines set up. It's just I was having a lot of time getting the prep set up for uh doing items and the money and trying to do that correctly with the way that played out for them. Um, and because of that, and with everything that was just going on, I just didn't have enough time to really sit down and develop it like I should before I had started running it. So I ended up, kind of stepping back, continuing to play. And then, like I said, later on, I got back into playing again about 8 years ago with my cousin and some guys he was playing. And we've become great friends. We play every Saturday religiously for the last 8 years. And great group of guys. Like I couldn't have found a better group of people to hang out with and play with. But we were hitting a point about 5 years ago. I kind of wanted to start getting into it again. So I ran a couple of one shots and decided with those I would set them to affect a world I just started making in my head. And then with that, I was like, well, look, I have this idea for what I had originally wanted to run like 20 years ago. And I had another idea that was like, oh, I can mix these together. This seems like really cool. And so I started kind of sitting down, doing the game, laying it out there for them. And I did it in 3 month section. And then we played our original game. And I came back, did another 3 months, and we went back to that. And then when that game kind of hit a point where some things happened, we needed to reset, and I offered to DM. And since then, it's been almost 3 years, and I've been running that game concurrently since, which is the one that I also kind of have used that world to put for my start playing game, which I now have new people playing through, which is very interesting. It's very fun to see people that you don't know personally. I love these guys. They're actually really cool. Um, Play in a world that you made with your friends, and to see them experience it and to see the differences and the similarities of how people approach these things and the way they do them. And it's been fantastic, like really overall. And it's been an experience because you have to learn your group's personalities, the way people do things, the way they like to interact with things. So kind of like, and then trying to find a balance in that to an extent, because you can't balance that perfectly. Sometimes people will get bored. Some people will get bored with combat a little bit. Some people will get bored with role playing. So it's a balance there. Uh, but it is definitely fun. I have put them through some very emotional baloney uh, that we all agree. Like, there's been a couple times like they've had to, like, we've literally stopped so that way they could take a second to step away and then come back and we finish it. And then I double check, like, hey, was everything cool? And they're like, oh yeah, no, that shit was great. It's just they hit me way harder than I expected it to.
Oh,
And it's like, yeah, I get that.
I would like to ask you more about that. Before we do, though, I would like to just give you an opportunity. For everyone watching, Jay is going to be putting some stuff in the description, some links to his stuff. Would you kind of tell us what we can put down in there for people to check out your stuff at?
Yeah, we can give you the start playing link, and you can check out my profile and any games I'm running. Currently I just have the one running. I was thinking about starting another one up too. Um, and then I can one for the company's guild Discord server if you'd like to join on there, talk, chat, see what's going on. As time goes on with that, we'll have a TTRPG system that we are developing. Of course, I make custom subclasses, abilities, and all sorts of stuff all the time. So uh, I can share and we'll share those on there and all sorts of fun things, and just have a good time. Of course, we'll get into about those types of things as we go, and the way I do things with balancing. And sometimes I have to remember to pull things back because most people are not dealing in the absurdly outrageous power scale that me and my friends on Saturday deal in.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So yeah, everyone make sure you check out Jay's links in the description for those things. But I wanna ask you about this emotional buy-in that you seem to be getting from your players. It sounds like you are a GM who likes to go into the what I call emotional resonance, which is where you really, I mean, get players to emotionally invest in the game to where they care about it, really care about it so much that
Yeah.
it evokes real emotion. Tell us about that a little bit, like maybe your process for it, or what you
Uh,
like to.
a lot of it is just general beats of storytelling. I because of the fact that I have this general love of like X Files, SCP stuff, fantasy, and detective novels and mysteries and things, and I psychology is one of the things that I guess I just kind of enjoy. Um, a lot of that is just general storytelling. You kind of start the game off, you get a feel for each one of the characters, you get their backstories, you get a general idea of that, and then you build things into the world that they care about. And that at any moment, you could pull a little bit of a string here or there to not only give direction to kind of where you want them to go at that moment, but also, at that moment, it gives them a reason for why they want to be there, why they are doing something. So I feel like a lot of the way to build an emotional resonance with your game is to give players a reason to care. build things into the world that gives them a reason to care, whether it be parts with their family, friends that they had, um, people they have met along the way that they cared about enough that draw them back to something. Uh, all sorts of things like that. It is even as simple as like one encounter I had recently where I had created this custom uh, island, series of planar islands where there's this big tree in the middle, uh, tree of knowledge, blah blah blah. Uh, where they go under it and they're expecting this big dungeon. Well, instead of a dungeon, what they got was an individual vision prophecy like journeys where they had to face their own decision and really come to like face to face with the things they had been doing, the things they are, things that had been said to them, and really making them face that. Not even in a like a, and I feel like it's kind of cheap, like the doppelganger thing, where like they have to fight themselves. Like, no, not that. Like it's a literal. It was each one of them are faced with something where their biggest desire is put in front of them, and how they react into that, and how that affects everything else around them, and the way that maybe their path going this way, maybe that's not the best decision. Maybe this way is a better decision, but it leaves everybody up to their own determination. And then when you can, and I'll say this a lot later, is presentation. Presentation really matters when it comes to things and to stories and everything else when you're delivering them. And when you're presenting them and you have set the choices up in a way that the character can freely make one of those choices, and if it's the right decision, and they came to that and they do that and they do it on themselves, that it makes them feel good inside to go, hey, I did this. And then that adds another little level of, I'm gripped into this. um, so there are many different things I feel like as the game goes on that you can do to add little things that grip your players in. Uh, Anywhere, like I said, from storylines with family members, backstory, revenge stuff, uh, anything that you can kind of add to that. Like even if they give you almost nothing and tell you, hey, just have fun with it, and you build an elaborate backstory where there's some prince of a far off land, and their grandfather is dying, and this is now what has drawn them back to that particular place that they haven't been to in say 20 years because they were out venturing for one reason or another.
Hello, friends. Jim Philosopher here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this interview. I hope you're enjoying it. With that being said, I just want to let you know that I do have a book. If you are a game master who loves to create emotional resonance in your games, then this is absolutely the book for you. It's called The Advanced Art of TTRPG Game Mastery. This is my book I wrote in 2025 outlining how I create emotional resonance and emotional buy-in in my games. If you want to run the kinds of TTRPGs, D&D or whatever, that gets players actually emotionally invested, gets them wanting to come back again and again, gets them basically begging you to run another session, like, please, let's play again soon, I can't wait for the next one, then this is the book for you. I've been running games for over 24 years, and I've been a pro D&D game master and TTRPG content creator for several months now in 2026, and though I'm newer to the adventure of running pro games, it's going very well, and these are the secrets that help me to create games that players love. So with that being said, make sure you grab this. Link is in the description for about the price of a cup of coffee. You can learn all of my deepest, darkest secrets, tips, insights on how to make that happen. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the interview. All right. So you mentioned that you're running not only some friends and family games, but you're also running on StartPlaying, maybe doing some pro game stuff. I want to ask you, though, about that. But before we do that, I have to ask you, what system are you running right now?
Currently, we are running the D&D 5e 2014 rules. Now, mind you, I will have to take some liberty in the fact that we are using 2014 as the base, but we also have a mixture of some third edition stuff with like boons and things, and some second edition rulings with some of the functioning of like that. Because on that, as well as the Tuesday, because I asked them and they wanted to do it, but so instead of doing the fifth edition attunement thing, we do these second edition slots, and so you can slot into different portions, which gives you a much larger variety of magic items that you can have on at one time. Uh, I know lots of people aren't really into things like that because they can the control on how they want their power scaling to go, and I'm over here just like take it to the moon. If you can get there, let's get there. I
Interesting.
will figure my way out to, as long as we don't break it to the point that it's just outrageous, have fun. Because I pride myself at least somewhat into the idea of going, I will think my way around this in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to think my way around some of this, even if that means I just blatantly change things and modify things to go, yes, this is now what is happening. This is how this is going to combat this. Don't worry about it. Like, and then that comes down to the choice of, you know, how do you how do you sparse that out? Because I've encountered that too, where if you make it too hard for too long, even as they're scaling and getting very powerful, and it's still being very hard on them, uh, you do get into this thing where they still get into that mild depressive state of, hey, we're not like, what the hell, like we're still getting our ass kicked, and so you have to like kind of give them stuff in between that stuff where they can just kind of burn through it, and things like that. Because I've experienced that not too long ago with like my best friend. We were playing, and they encountered a series of fey creatures. Well, a number of those creatures had an ability where if you fail to save, you got exhaustions. And there was enough of them that if they each did it, then they could die outright. And it was pretty tough fight. And at the end of it, he was like, "Damn it! I don't remember signing up for Dark Souls." And I was like, "Well, actually, you did." Because like that was the whole thing when I lined this up, was I'm going to run Dark Soul style encounters. Like, they're going to be rough, but you will always have the tools to deal with them. So, uh, you know, I haven't had too much issue with dealing with getting into the higher levels or anything like that, just because of the way I approached it from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, because they're at level 14 now in that game, and we're in the home stretch to get to the final bit of where they've been building up to for the level 15, where we go into a this massive like two country size war, with roughly somewhere in the vicinity of like 50,000, 60,000 troops and all that, and it's going to be wild. That whole combat's going to take us anywhere from a month to 6 weeks.
Nice, very nice. Okay, so a couple of things in there I really want to touch on and talk about. That was okay. So you're running. I have to ask you about this. You're at level 14. You're getting into those higher levels. Some game
Uh-huh.
masters are literally afraid to go to those higher levels because of the power scaling that can happen, especially running the newer D&D systems, right?
Hmm.
Now, it sounds like you've played some third edition, so you know how crazy third edition could get at the higher levels.
Yeah,
It got
yeah. It had we borrowed stuff because we were wanting to go into like epic levels with fifth edition, so we've had to look into stuff and try to figure out how to manipulate things to fit with fifth edition and balance it correctly to be epic in
yeah.
in fifth edition. So that's fun. We've spent a number of years going, man. You know what we really could have used? A mythic handbook. That would have been great. Uh, would have been great. But with that, and the thing is both. I think because coming from an older play edition set, with second edition and some third, and I tried fourth. It didn't go well. I'm not going to say it was necessarily the edition, although it's wasn't great. I think the play group I tried that with just we didn't mesh well, so it really made it even worse. But and if you know playing in those older editions, like the higher you got, it anywhere from fourth to fifth level slots, up into the higher levels, stuff got really crazy.
Oh yeah.
And I mean crazy, crazy to the point like what was one of the third edition spells was you cast it, and if they fail to save, you essentially do a ton of damage to their closest loved one.
There's all
And
kinds of crazy
it
stuff.
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just insane stuff. So in fifth edition, comparatively to like a lot of that stuff, even if you get into like the deep magic and a lot of like alternative stuff, uh, still gets crazy, but it doesn't get the level of crazy like those spells got.
I agree.
Uh,
Yeah. I totally agree
so
with you, which is why I think I'm not afraid of high level D&D now. Like I'm not like
yeah, no,
I've run into epic levels in third edition, and it's like there's no way it can get crazier than that. Fifth edition cannot get any crazier. Now it does do some crazy things, right? There
oh,
are
it does
some,
some wild stuff.
yeah,
It
yeah.
can do some wild stuff,
But
especially like I say with just the base spells they give you. You can do some wild stuff.
yeah, for sure. But you're not afraid of going into those higher levels. It sounds like. In fact, it sounds like you enjoy it.
Oh yeah, no, this is where, and to me, like I like lower level stuff. Don't get me wrong, I like lower level stuff. It's fun. It's easier to establish things for those characters in lower levels because it, you're dealing with a lot less scope when it comes to what they can do, the items they have, different things like that. And then when you get into the higher levels, the scope goes very wide, and the things they can do goes very far left and right. But at the same time, you as the DM, your scope goes even broader. So for however far their scope goes, yours goes two, three times as far because you are again, and this is without, I guess, sounding odd about it, but you are the outer god of this entire universe. You are essentially, for anybody that knows D&D lore, like you are AO. You are the outer god. You control this. It's your sphere. You can do as you please. Okay. With that, the second you hit up there, they do a bunch of crazy stuff. And I guess I've gotten used to it somewhat too, because I have a 7-player group on my big group. And between them, they have an additional 5 other in like PC NPC characters that are part of the group. So it's like a 12-person group. So I have to deal with some very massive changes through this with that. So and I'm having a blast. They're having a blast. So it's just understanding at that point when you get to higher levels, it's like just pay attention to your characters. Like just pay attention to your characters, pay attention to what you gave them. And then as you get into those higher levels, just establish things that are set to go against what they can do. Like if you have a spellcaster that's doing a bunch of crazy things, add spellcasters that have counter spells and things into the party and into the monsters or parties that they're fighting. If or if you need that, you have a spellcaster. It's got counter spell. You have a ranger that can literally shoot the spellcaster. It's your fighter has an outrageous AC and is attacking the crap out of things. Just make a bigger mob. Make a bigger mob, add more of a mob, and do things where they have to make dex saves or wisdom saves. Target them with stuff like that a little more to do things like that. If you say you have a flying invisible rogue and flying half invisible ranger, uh, do things that cause large area of effect spells that they can't get away from, no matter what. you know um, there are so many options when it comes to dealing with characters and their abilities and the thing is you make sure you're not going into it with a mentality of it's me versus them.
For sure. Yeah.
Never go into it with a me versus them mentality. The whole thing is you want to establish a challenge that is difficult for them, while at the same time you know it is set up that they have the tools that if they thought about it, they could wipe this quickly. If they don't think about it, it's a much harder experience. So and it's one of those things because I've set up entire encounters where it's very deadly. It is very deadly. Like they are going to die if they don't make some serious decisions here. And it's not that I wanted them to die. It's like they had the tools to do all sorts of stuff. And eventually they settled on one of those tools and turned it into a very easy encounter, freezing everybody to death inside of like this room. And it was great. Uh, so just always take into account like, the world you've set up, uh, what your party can do, what was the general scope of your story to begin with, how limited did you make yourself, because at the end of the day you do not, establish your world, establish what you want to do in that world, and kind of what your limits are, and then don't allow yourself to go outside of those limits if you don't want to handle that. Is my big thing with that. But it's not terrible once you get into the higher levels. I feel like that's where things really open up into the high fantasy portion of my high fantasy.
Nice. Hello, friends. GM Philosopher here. Listen, I have been a pro paid game master for several months now. I started my business in January of 2026, and then I went full time in March. How did I do it? I actually wrote a book all about that, the Pro GM's Guide. Listen, this book I wrote detailing how I went from having 0 pro games at all to going full time running pro games. Now, keep in mind, running pro games isn't my only business. I have 5 full pro games going right now. I also do the YouTube, obviously, and I sell products. With that being said, I am highly confident that with the methods I've outlined in this book, and of course, this book is kind of based on using StartPlaying games as your platform, but you do not have to do that. There are ways to get around that, and this book will be useful to you even if you're not using StartPlaying, but it's specifically written with StartPlaying in mind. And if you want to turn your love for the hobby, your talent for running games into either a beneficial side hustle or even consider going full time, then this is the book for you. All the crucial tips, tricks, trial and error, all the stuff I learned trying to figure out how to make it happen, I have put into this book. If you have aspirations of being a pro game master, this is absolutely something you need to add to your bookshelf. Grab this. Link is in the description for about the price of 2 cups of coffee. You can add this to your repertoire. Once again, thank you so much for watching the channel and the interview. And now let's get back to it. All right. So you mentioned just a little while ago that you've made a foray into StartPlaying, getting into the pro games side of things. Tell us about that journey, if you wouldn't mind.
It's been interesting. I was working the job that I currently don't have now, but I was talking to a guy that I was working with, and I was telling him about a game idea that I had. I was like, I may or may not even get to run this, but here's an idea I have for a campaign. And he had said that I've listened to like 2 sentences and I need to play this game. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. He was like, you should like try to see if people would want to play your game and if you could make money do it. I was like, well, I can look into it. And I ended up looking into it and I found StartPlaying. And I was like, well, I can give it a shot. Worst things worse, I can give it a shot, see if people enjoy it. And if they enjoy it, maybe I can get into this more because I really enjoy storytelling. I really enjoy doing this type of thing. I find it really actually relaxes me more than most things in my life. Other than my kids, I love my kids to death. They are the most stressful and relaxing thing in my entire life. D&D would be next. It is stressful yet super relaxing. I really enjoy it, and so I got that going, and I put up this Interim King game, and it took about a month and a half to get 4 players, and it's been an interesting experience. One of the guys that helped got me started in getting the game set up was there for session 0 and then like quit like the next week, citing uh, life stuff, whatever. That's fine. Dope. I don't hold that to anybody. I understand life be life, and uh, so we've done that, and then I got another gentleman that happened to join literally like the next week after that. So I was back up to 4. And then right after that, one of the other players has had life be life and with his job and hasn't been there. So I don't know if he's going to still be there. So it's only down to the 3. But the 3 players that are there consistently, I am really having a blast with them. They are great people. This has been very enjoyable. They seem to be highly enjoying the story that I have put forward so far. They're currently in an investigation inside of a place called North Pass, where they are hunting down essentially someone that is kidnapping a series of women during a political senator debating and election season that's going on, where 2 people are on different aisles and they're investigating into this. And one of the things that's really I think was very heartening going, especially after the last session, uh, was getting feedback from a gentleman that is actually a detective to tell me that the way I am running this investigation setup for them has been very good
Oh.
and like has actually been really well set up. And I was like, that's a hell of a compliment. And one of the other players was had made a comment the week before, but of course it could have been a joke. But he clarified the next week. He goes, I said this last week, but I meant it when I said this campaign is really making me enjoy this type of gameplay again, because he had tried it before with somebody else and it just didn't go well. And I was like, well, that's great. I'm happy that I can satisfy a number of people with the way that this is set up, and the way that I approach presenting these things to you.
When you say the
Uh,
type of game, do you mean like the that kind of like mystery type game?
a mystery, investigation, political intrigue, stuff like that. Where you really kind of have to. I'm not making you be full blown. You don't have to be fucking Sherlock Holmes, to or Hercule Poirot or anybody like that to, or the figmental characters to solve these things. Okay, but I am presenting them in that type of manner, whereas but you have so many avenues. But I try to present it in a way where you have so many different avenues to travel to figure this out, that in the end, kind of no matter what way you went, you'll eventually probably figure it out, unless you just go way off into left field and just go, all right, so we're set to investigate this. I think we'll go out of town and see what's up with these horse wranglers, something like that. Aside from that, but presentation is one of those things that I find really helps with everything, is just how you present stuff to people. And like I said, because this is a very kind of mystery heavy political intrigue type thing throughout the whole campaign, that is an element that is throughout the whole game, where you're investigating into different things and looking into stuff like that. So, for someone to actually outside of my friend group go, hey, this is really good. It's being presented well, and it's actually taking my opinion that I had, kind of in this with a great that I came into this with a grain of salt, and it's making me enjoy it a lot more. Is one hell of a thing. So yeah, it's been really fun overall for my experience with getting people, and kind of experiencing people outside of my normal play groups and friends and things.
Do you foresee yourself opening up more start playing games? Do you think you're going to try to launch more?
Oh, absolutely. I question whether or not I should try to do this game again, and do that, because I am actually recording this game with them, and putting it onto YouTube. So and originally I was just doing it so that way it could go into a playlist. They could listen back on it and have it as notes essentially. It's a really fun way that me and my group kind of figured out. You can do this. You have the exact session. If you need to remember something or you missed or somebody missed the session, you can literally watch this video and catch back up, get everything you needed. So I started doing it for that, and we were having a little bit of a trouble with them getting to the videos for some reason with YouTube, and I was being a jerk. So I just was like, "What do y'all want to make them public?" They said, "Make them public." So now they're just public on there, and I'm like, well, if I'm just displaying this and people actually look into these, do I run another version of this same game for other people on there, or do I maybe put like a secondary version of my game Shadows Fall onto there and run that different game? As well, I have another idea of one that I want to run that I call the Pathways, and it's a series of It's a game where magic and reality are kind of failing and breaking down, and it's a whole lineage story where you have these particular pathways you have to travel in a very esoterical way, uh, in order to both save uh, magic and reality as a whole as itself. It kind of deals in what the SCP world would classify as pataphysics. The more simpler version of this is extra dimensional things where it's layers of dimensions on top of each other. Um, and it also kind of deals in it also follows a little bit of the same premise, like the never enders story where people are losing their belief, blah blah blah. It's breaking down that, so it's this weird mixture of a number of different things kind of in that realm. And I was like, maybe I could put that up there and people would find that interesting. So I have lots of ideas. I have games that I definitely would like to put up there. If people would find them interesting and would like to play them, I would definitely like to run them.
Nice. Now, on the topic of start playing, running the pro game stuff, do you ever envision yourself like making it a full time thing? To you, on the economic side, is it more like a side hustle? Like how do you think about that in terms of like maybe what you want to do in the future?
It's a really good question. So as I started putting the game on Start Playing, the original idea was, maybe I put this on here, I get some people to play it, maybe they enjoy it, and I make a little extra cash that I can uh, put into like Discord or in back into like books or something for the games or stuff or things like that. Little side cash on the sense of it. But as I kind of started getting into it and thinking about the part where, well, me and a buddy of mine's been working on this game system for the last number of years, and I've really been kind of pushing him lately into that. And I started writing a novel about an old campaign, which I've written like 8 chapters of so far. And I've kind of hit a lull for about the last like month or so. So I'm trying to get back into that again. That's how writing is. It's fun. Uh, and then I started kind of working on, because my ADHD forces me to do things sometimes, and then I work on things very heavily until I hit that lull. So that way, when I hit that lull, I have a bunch of stuff already done, and I don't have to feel as bad when I don't feel so good about things. Uh, so with that, and I was working on a bunch of like start to kind of make some of these adventures that we had come up with into like actual PDFs of module setups that if people would like them or things. And as that kind of started going and my brain started going, I was like, well, I used to run podcasts and I used to do this, and I would love to do something with my friends, even if it's just something that, in the end, we really only really kind of just get the most benefit, just we enjoy because it's something we did and we actually did it. Um, And then, as like I said, as this was going, I was like, I really would love to turn this into a full time thing because of all of the things I do in my life. It kind of encapsulates all of the things I like to do. I like I organize everything way too hard for this stuff. I like coming up with things. I like being creative. I like telling people stories. I like bringing them enjoyment. I I don't mind the general idea that people would be like it's a stress over like different things in the game and things like that with stories and coming up with new things and it is really in the end everything that I like. And the problem in that is of course, you run into the old age old adage that even if you do something you love, you'll never work it a day in your life. But if you've ever done something that you just genuinely like to do, after a certain amount of time, it kind of just turns into a job. So it's making sure that at the end of the day, that as that goes on, it still remains something you love to do. Uh, that is one of the things that you have to watch out for, I think, in turning something like that you enjoy, like a hobby or anything, into something you do professionally. But at the same time, if you love something enough and you know how to balance it correctly, it never becomes a job. It's like anything else in life. Everything just takes the right amount of balance. Because if you go too hard into it and it's the only thing you're ever thinking about, then of course, you'll burn yourself out really hard. And that'll happen anyway. Of course, as DMs, we all have experienced that. Especially long term DMs where you're going and like all of a sudden, you've been DMing for 2 years straight, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got no gas. I got no gas. Like I've got nothing. So and with that, of course, hopefully, sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you've built enough stuff that when you hit that burnout, you can step back and just kind of take a relaxing bit. And even while the game is going, you can sit back and go, take a breath and go, look, I have everything built so well, or at least enough of it, that everything we do going forward can just be kind of improv or whatever. Or, you talk to your group, you have a great group. One of them steps up to DM for a little bit. You take a little bit of a break, sit back, be a player for a second if you can. If you don't have that option, you talk to people, you go, hey, look, I need like 2 weeks, let my brain refresh, and we'll be good to go. It just depends on what works best for you, what your settings, what your options are, things like that. I mean, not everybody's going to go balls to the wall like I did and create an entire universe just because you were like, I want to tell a story about a 20-year-old fucking D&D group that I played.
Mhm.
And would like to incorporate stuff from the game that we were just playing and all this stuff and decide that, hey, look, my real first time DMing, I'm going to do the hardest thing possible. I will suggest that's probably not the best thing to do, especially for newer DMs and people really getting into it that haven't had a lot of experience previously and before. Would be to I would suggest, get people that have played that can kind of give you a little bit of a show of the ropes if you can. As well, get some modules, you just kind of read those. And my main piece of advice when it comes to anything like modules or anything is please read them. Please make sure you read them. Uh, Secondarily, nothing is set in stone. The book is a suggestion. That's it, like most things in life, it's a suggestion. This is a suggestion to how you can do things. It is if you want to run it set like that, so you can build up some confidence and things with yourself to your storytelling and kind of learning how the dynamic of telling a story, a cooperative story with people, and getting their input in the way that they think and everything with that, and learning that dynamic. And then once you kind of get a little handle of that, have fun with it. Make all sorts of changes. Do what you want. At the end of the day, I believe we were told this a long time ago, but nothing is new. No matter how you cut it, no matter what you come up with, no matter what story that you're like, that seems outrageously. No, it's somewhere. It's somewhere. There's a whole book. It's John Solo mentions it on like his channel. It's one of those things. I can't remember now, but it's a specific book that's literally story themes and tropes, and it's a very long book that's just detailing the types of stories that have been told. And I guarantee you'll find your type of story in that book. It's been told. So, with that, have fun. Never let that hold you back. Never let anything hold you back to the sense of how you would like to do something, in the sense of like, oh, well, that seems tropey, or that seems like this, or oh, this seems totally original. And then you find out somebody else is also doing it and it breaks your heart. Don't do that. It's okay. Have fun. That's the fun thing about storytelling is there's a million stories, there's billions of stories that came before you, there are billions of stories to be told after you, and the fun part is they all follow a similar through line. There is a simplistic part of every story and storyline and lifeline that, if when you boil it down, it's always the same through line. So just enjoy. Just enjoy. I guess that's my biggest takeaway with DMing is just have fun. Uh, just enjoy.
That's really good advice. All right, we're coming up on time. Thank you so much, Jay, for sharing with us. Once again, everyone, you can find links to Jay's stuff in the description. Start Playing Games, among other things. Make sure to check those things out. Jay, one final thing, one final question. In your experience running games, what do you think is the number one thing you have learned that you would like to pass on to other game masters as far as a piece of wisdom for this craft?
Um, biggest piece of advice, expect for new, especially newer DMs and possibly people that have been doing it. I don't know. Um, One of the biggest things is never count on your plans to go the way you thought they would go. At the end of the day, and this was said to me a long time ago, but until I really did it, it didn't really stick. My uncle said it while he was his set it up however you want to set it up. Have fun, but always remember you're never going to outthink five, six people. At the
Oh,
end of the day, between four to six to whatever amount of people, somebody's going to think of something you didn't think of. So, with that, always be flexible. Always be flexible and understand that people aren't trying necessarily a lot of times to, and let you know, you can tell when they aren't trying to mess things up for your story. They're just approaching it with the information they have. And people think differently. So, with that, never get too mad if something goes didn't go the way that you thought it should go. Instead, just enjoy what's happening a lot of times. Take that with what it is and use those things to build on to other things that can happen.
I love that. Very good advice. Extremely good advice. Jay, thank you so much for being on the channel. Really
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing about your GM craft, your experiences, some of the things that are important to you. Really, really appreciate it. For the audience, make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Once again, this is GM Philosophy, the channel where we empower game masters to run better games. Make sure you roll some D100s for me at your next game, friends, and I will see you on the next one.